Universities are no-platforming speakers, which lead Jerry Seinfeld to refuse to perform on U.S. campuses because everyone is too politically correct. David Starkey believes this is a worrying trend, and the last thing comparable was the puritanical revolution in Cromwellian times. Speaking on the BBC's This Week, Mr. Starkey said, "For in the last 20 years we have had a revolution by stealth, not in our streets but in our values. As a generation brought up with no rules and no religion has lurched with quasi-religious fervor into a puritanical groupthink, where debate is stifled and difference of opinion cannot be tolerated. Everywhere is back to the Middle Ages. In the universities, no platforming is a heresy trial without the stake." BBC News. The historian warns of possible dictatorship in law. The uncovering of historic sex abuse has turned from due process into a witch craze. Accusation proves guilt. Every victim must be believed. This is Salem. He argues the PC culture has created a divided world in which politics takes on a religious intensity. He added, in politics too, there is a new pseudo-religious intensity. Pro-Trump and anti-Trump, Remainer and Brexiteer confront each other in a sort of holy war, while in the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, JC, plays the Messiah and Momentum presents itself as a cross between the Jesuits and the Knights Templar. This does not bode well. Last time that religion so dominated politics was the Puritan religion, which led to civil war, the abolition of parliament and military dictatorship. Welcome to the Millennials Millennium. BBC News. He argues the PC culture has created a divided world. This goes against the grain of UK political history. According to Mr. Starkey, British politics differs from continental Europe because it has had a process of evolution rather than revolution. He added, the British political system of monarch, lords and commons is almost 800 years old. It survived because behind the fixed facade of Parliament it has proved astonishingly adaptable to changing social realities. In continental Europe, the ancient regime had to be torn down by revolution. In Britain it came by evolution, as first the bourgeoisie, then the working class and then women secured a vote for and representation in Parliament. The outspoken historian goes on to highlight that the British Constitution has withstood threats from more radical elements within the system. He said, our parliamentary constitution even survived the rise of the Labour Party as the monarchy under George V and the Tory Party under Stanley Baldwin went out of the way to welcome Labour ministers and trade unionists alike into the corridors of power and Buckingham Palace itself. BBC News. Mr. Starkey compares the current climate to Cromwellian times, but in a stark warning. He believes this previous world is now gone, and so has patriotism. And this death of patriotism will invariably lead to the death of democracy, perhaps even dictatorship, according to Mr. Starkey. In a chilling warning, he concludes, this is the world portrayed brilliantly in the film Darkest Hour, but everything in that film, the patriotism, the shared values, the importance of rhetoric, are now dead and buried. As Winston Churchill himself, we are also getting a determination to rewrite the historical past. We're getting a shyness about genuine national identity, and one of the things that I worry about most is without a clear notion of a national identity and a national story there is no possibility of genuine democratic political action. Political action depends on the fact we all recognize we have something in common with each other. If we are to be divided into tribes, if we are to be divided into genders or races, then there is only one form of government that can hold the balance. That is someone who sits on a throne and exercises imperial authority.